Perpetual hype continues. Yesterday we had previews on IGN showing off the new Lord of the Rings cards. Some of you might be confused because Lord of the Rings has been and gone, but no, there are more Lord of the Rings products coming. IGN got to unbox the Scene boxes. These are boxes that will come with 3 set boosters and then 6 cards that make up a scene. In this case, there's the Fight of the Witch King, Aragorn at Helm's Deep, the Might of Galadriel, and Gandalf in Pelennor Fields. All of the cards in the scenes are unique. They were not in the original set. So each of these boxes that will be available on store shelves, I don't know how available they will be. That's something I'm a little bit worried about with mechanically unique stuff, but all of them will have mechanically unique cards in them, as well as art cards for each of them and a little display board to put them on stuff. I actually really quite like this, except for the fact that they're mechanically unique. Beyond that, there's also going to be special edition collector boosters. These are ones that can't include the One Ring, but it doesn't really matter. The One of One Ring was found, of course, so that's not really a consideration anymore. But they're 12 packs, each one with 15 cards in it, and they're collector boosters with extra alternate foils and rares and stuff in them. So let's look at some of the stuff that the collector boxes can have in them, or collector boosters can have in them. This marks the first time that we're getting truly funky, truly abnormal, or a massive departure from the visual style of Magic within a booster product. Stuff this weird is usually held back for secret lairs. I've always assumed this and textless cards being like sort of promotions that you can win at events. They were like that to avoid new players coming into contact with this stuff. It was for enfranchised collectors and players. But no more. We now have this stuff. I'm going to be honest, I don't hate it, but some of them are kind of egregious. Arwen in particular, I flashed it to my wife and she said she thought it looked cool. But that's good, right? Because someone outside the game thinking it looks cool is good. Myself, I'm a little bit lost as to how the fuck we're ever meant to read this if we're new to the game or new to the card. Looking at Arwen in particular, I had no idea which Magic card this was. I didn't know what its mana cost was. I assume it's these 2 circles at the top. That's pretty bad. I thought it was Ariel for a moment, and I was like, is there a character called Ariel in Magic? And then this text is basically unreadable unless you hold the card straight up to your face and strain your eyes. I'm not saying the visual design is bad from a purely artistic standpoint. I'm saying as a game piece, it doesn't quite function well. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think with these cards, with the Arwen, the Aragorn, the Gandalf, and similar, I think Mount Doom's pretty bad, and the Sol Ring at least I can read the text. But all of these are evoking this 70s festival poster style, this funkadelic, slightly hippie, slightly trippy drug trip, essentially. And whilst I get that, there's a few issues I have with it. The first and foremost is that, one, what does that really have to do with Lord of the Rings, except for the fact that maybe people going to music festivals in the 70s were fans of Tolkien's work, maybe it was considered slightly countercultural. I'm no expert on that sort of trend, but is that a through line that makes this fit? And then on that note, I think that like unpacking or subverting expectations in Magic card art, framing and design can be a good thing. I'm one of the people that did a video defending the infamous faithless looting that everyone complained about. But when it comes to the Lord of the Rings cards, I think subverting expectations or subverting conventions on them is a bit strange. Firstly, there's a load of players coming in because of Lord of the Rings, or coming back because of Lord of the Rings, that have no idea what any of this shit does or looks like. It's confusing for them. I don't think it's going to make or break someone's game experience, but I don't think it makes for the most accessible early game experience. And secondarily, when it comes to Lord of the Rings, having just one set, jumping forward 2 months, and then having like absolutely mind-boggling visual design that's not what you would expect from a Lord of the Rings card, feels like we're subverting expectations or conventions that were never truly established. One set does not a status quo or standard point make. I think this kind of thing is a lot more forgivable with cards that are getting printed after being in the game for years, where people know what they do on one hand and also expect them to look a certain way on another. I don't even remember what the Arwen cards from Lord of the Rings do. They've hardly existed, they've hardly made an impact, and now we have an Arwen that I didn't even realize was Arwen. I thought it was fucking Ariel. Again, I'm not ragging on the artist or the art direction from an artistic standpoint. I'm saying that in the Lord of the Rings sets of all things, I feel that this is quite a significant miss. I have no idea what this card does without spending a lot of time trying to read it. Beyond that, we did see that there will be alternate frame versions that are like a scroll style showcase frame, like here with the One Ring. So we're going to have 2 different versions of the One Ring, plus I guess normal One Ring cards showing up in these collector boosters. And then we got some brand new mechanically unique cards. There's 4 sets of 6. I'm going to talk about the ones that I thought were interesting. First of all, let's talk about Riders of the Mark. As you'll notice, it's not got a frame that makes it part of one of the showcase scenes. Riders of the Mark is in fact in the main set. Now, that's also weird, because all the stuff that I'm about to show you from the scene cards are all in the commander set, technically. That's right, all the new cards in this set are going to be part of either the main set or the commander set, and that means when it comes to asking where you can get those cards, it's actually hard to figure out. This is going to be in the collector boosters, I believe, yet it is in the main set, and thus this is modern legal. Meanwhile, the other scene cards are not modern legal. That's right, some of them are legal in modern, some of them are legal in legacy, and I just don't understand why we've got to this level of complexity with product releases. Ultimately, what's legal in modern and legacy again won't make or break a new player experience, but it does make the onboarding towards playing older formats, eternal formats, and different formats more difficult. It makes Magic more confusing than it necessarily has to be. I don't know why we're releasing a product 2 months later that has both modern and commander legal stuff in it. I get that you might say that that's not that big a downside, but I really just don't think we need to do it in the first place. I don't know what the upside of releasing such a hot smorgasbord of random shit into a set is. I guess ultimately it just suggests that modern and legacy just don't matter anymore. So Riders of the Mark is a 7-mana human knight with this spell costs 1 less for each human you control, has trample and haste, and at the beginning of your end step, if Riders of the Mark attack this turn, return it to its owner's hand, and if you do, create a number of 1/1 white human soldier tokens equal to its toughness. It's a 7/4 hasty trample that will often cost you in the correct commander deck a couple of mana, maybe even 1, and then it goes back to hand, dodges a wrath, and makes 4 1/1 bodies that probably proc all your human and soldier synergies too. Beyond that, the fact that it's modern legal means that modern humans now have a 7/4 that they can reduce the cost on, that hits, dodges wraths, and makes 1/1s that will proc all your human and soldier synergies. Card seems pretty decent. And then onto a plethora of non-modern legal cards. Firstly, Nazgul Battle Mace is a 5-mana equipment with an equip cost of 3, and the equipped creature has Menace, Death Touch, and Annihilator 1, and whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control unless that player pays 3 life. That's right, Annihilator 1. When I read this, my eyes lit up. I love Annihilator for being a truly horrible mechanic that makes you feel your back is against the wall. And in this case, it self-synergizes with the whole sacrifice a thing, pay 3 life or I get it. Obviously, most of the time this just means the person sacrificing the permanent is either going to sacrifice a token to avoid triggering the second effect, or will sacrifice a permanent and just lose 3 life as opposed to letting you have it. Of course, if they're below 3 life, they can't do that, and you'll always get it. Also, at a commander table, you can attack someone who's got an ETB trigger in play. Let's see, a Meteor Golem. You can say, oh, if you sack that to Annihilator, don't pay the 3 life, I can put it into play and trigger it and remove a problem permanent elsewhere on the board. It also opens some interesting political elements to its design. I love this card. The art is really funny, because it's part of the scene, it makes sense in context, but out of context, it's like, it feels like it's just cropped the wrong part of the image. I just wonder if we're going to get a non-scene one that looks less derpy. Galadriel Light of Valinor is a 5-mana elf noble. It's a mythic, but it's going to be in the scene box. You'll be able to get it just by buying the box. And whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Add 3 green to your mana pool, put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control, and scry 2, then draw a card. It triggers only once per turn for each ability, so basically you get a mini green dark ritual, a card draw, and a count on every creature you control once. As it reads on the card, I'm kind of just reading the card out again, but my thought was that you're going to try to make creatures in other people's turns. Coco's, Court of Callings, and then like Verdant Force style effects, like the Tree Folk from Ixalan, not Tree Folk, the thing that makes a sapling, I'll put it on screen now, the thing's like sapling every turn, and then each upkeep you get to trigger this, draw a card, growing your team, making mana, or so on and so forth. I think that's pretty strong. She seems like a really good, solid, and interesting elf noble elf commander in bank colours that doesn't just draw you a card for every single one that comes into play. I quite like it. I'm tempted to build it. Legolas's Quick Reflex is a 1-mana green split-second instant. Oh no. Untap target creature until end of turn against hexproof reach, and whenever this creature becomes tapped, it deals damage equal to its power to 1 target creature. So in essence, you have a 1-mana split-second untap effect that gives hexproof and reach to really catch your opponent out. This is a very strong interaction spell in green, split second, just pushing it way over rate for what it does. And I think this will see play in Legacy in Infect of all things, and maybe fringe places elsewhere like Green-Black Depths with the 2020s that Marit Lage makes. The real absolute insult to injury is the fact that if you cast this pre-combat and your opponent then can't kill the creature, you can then attack, trigger, and kill a blocker or a problem creature with it as well. Card is really solid. It's probably the best competitive card out of all of them revealed from the scenes, but I guess it's not as good as Bowmaster or the One Ring, and thus well, I guess we're lucky in that regard. Then we have Gandalf of the Secret Fire, which is a Jeskai 4-mana avatar wizard that says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell in your opponent's turn, you get to exile it instead of putting it into your graveyard and give it suspend, and then stick 3 time counters on it. So we've got to suspend Gandalf at instant speed stuff. Might be quite good with some of the upcoming Doctor Who stuff. There's a lot of suspend hinted at there, with the 10th Doctor being a suspend commander with partner where you can attach a white companion to it. So you might end up seeing Gandalf of the Secret Fire synergizing with the 10th Doctor in a mashup that I think is really funny. And my pick for a card that's going to be better in Commander than any other card in this set, and thus will probably have quite a big price tag attached if it's only available in the boosters that come in the collector boxes and in the showcase bundle thing, is Galadriel's Dismissal. For 1 white mana, you may phase out target creature. That means it ceases to be in the game but does not leave, and then it phases back in that controlling player's next upkeep. This means you can remove a blocker, remove a utility piece, remove a mana dork, remove all sorts of utility stuff, or save one of your own creatures until your following turn. The thing that makes this even more nuts than just like this weird protective Swords to Plowshare variant is that for an extra kicker of 3 mana, so for 4 mana total at instant speed, if the spell was kicked, each creature target player controls phases out instead. You can phase out one player's entire board. You can remove all their blockers. You can, in their upkeep, remove all their creatures to stop them really doing anything with their dorks and combo pieces. This card is incredibly powerful, easily the best card out of all of the cards in this set. And I do think it's going to command some sort of price tag. Some of you are going to tell me that, of course, well, actually, Vince, because it's in a bundle, you can get hold of it easily. But the One Ring managed to achieve price tags of $30 to $40, in spite of being in all the gift bundles. Sorry, I lied. The gift bundle one is $45, the normal ones are $60. I think this card's going to be really expensive. So there we have it. Loads more Lord of the Rings stuff, smack bang, straight after Doctor Who releases, before the next set after that releases. And ultimately, I like a load of these designs. I think they're cool cards. I think a lot of the art is great, and I like this showcase box thing. Even if $40 for 3 boosters and 6 showcase cards is a little steep, if I'm honest. But ultimately, I just don't like this separation of the set out and breaking a part of it away to release later. I assume this is just a later thing they're doing with Lord of the Rings in particular, just because that's a way to milk more money out of the Lord of the Rings cash cow that they won't have access to next year or the year after. I don't think we'll be seeing this with normal Magic sets. But ultimately, I think it's just more confusing than it needs to be. And I wish it was all just at the same time. I've been Vince, also PleasantKenobi on the internet. Smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to pick up some stuff, don't forget to check out coolstuffinc.com, where you can pre-order these bundles right now. Thanks for watching. Ta-ta for now.